Hey guys, how's it going? It's Pat from Pat's Brewery, and I'm answering that classic question: how much does it cost to make beer? So, one of the first things people ask when you tell them that you make homebrew, often they'll say, well, there's two questions I always find people ask. The first one is, oh, I bet you make really strong beer. To which I say, sometimes, but actually, a lot of the time, I'll be brewing myself beers more in the 4 to 5% range, just because I don't want to get absolutely bladdered all the time. The second question is, how much does it cost? And again, the answer that I always give them is, well, that all depends on the type of beer you're brewing and bits and pieces like that. I give them, estimates on cost and bits, but I never take into account things like cost of electricity, cost of water, or anything like that. Let's just pour myself a pint. Might be a little bit over carbonated, as I upped the gas the other day, and I didn't realise that the secondary regulator wasn't particularly dialed in, so this one might be, yeah, it's a little bit foamy. So this is the black leftover lager. It's not that day, you should only have a half, just a half. But yeah, so it's still good. Maybe a little bit too fizzy, but still good. So yeah, the other day I thought to myself, why not actually work it all out with regards to how much things are actually costing me. So I won't say that I had a light day the other day at work, but I had time to pull up a separate spreadsheet for myself, and I have to change my password now, won't I? Because you've probably seen that. Oh, come on, enjoy the beer while we're waiting for that to load. Yeah, so so to create myself up a little spreadsheet just to work it all out, kind of taking into account things like water, electric, cost of materials. I didn't, I haven't calculated my time because, that seems a little bit unfair, because I am doing this for the love of it, not to actually make money, but well, that took a while for the old laptop to load up. Anyway, so cost of running the brewery and bits and pieces. So I've split it up into 3 areas: water, electric, and materials. So things like your grains and your hops and bits and pieces. So for this, I've done it all based off of doing a single batch of beer, which for me, at the end of the day, it fills up a 19-litre keg, even though I do tend to have more at the end of the brew day than that. But anyway, for that size batch, how much water we use, electric and materials. So with regards to water, so I've mentioned in the past I'm in the south, and it's Anglia Water that supplies my water. Now they've got a standard rate, first of all, of standard annual rate of about £30 odd. So we're not going to include that because that's for in the household. But then what they do have is additional charge of £1.68 per 1,000 litres. So obviously not using 1,000 litres in a brew day. For my batches, probably more likely to be using 40 litres to cover the mashing and the sparge, and I tend to have a bit left over. I've never calculated how much water I use in the cool down, so obviously that is a factor, but in all honesty, based off of the £1.68 per 1,000 litres, I worked out 40 litres works out at 7p, so it is you know, negligible with regards to cool down water and bits and pieces like that. Materials with regards to actual hops and grains and bits and pieces like that, well, obviously all depends on the batch of beer that you're actually making. So if we average, say, about 4 to 5% ABV beer, I kind of said a base grain tends to cost, I don't know by the kilogram, £2.15 per kilogram. I think I was using Marisota or pale malt as a basis for that. So usually I'll use about 1.5 kilos of pale malt, so that works out as £7.53. Then normally you're using some form of specialty grain, say, I don't know, half a kilo of specialty grain. Specialty grain is a little bit more expensive, but not actually by that much from what I've seen. Like I was looking at maybe a crystal, medium crystal or something like that, and that was coming up at £2.55. So again, if you only use per kilo, so if you're only using half kilo, that's £1.28. Hops, well, this is where the world's your oyster with regards to the costing of hops, and all, you know, how much you're putting in, dry hopping, in the boil and bits and pieces. So I just done a search on the malt miller for mosaic hops, 100 grams, because I figured that, you know, that covers your brew day and probably any you know, dry hoppage, if making sure that you're not wanting a super hoppy beer, but you know, if it's just saying that's how much we're going to put into whatever beer it is that I'm making here. So I don't know, this seemed really expensive on the malt mill. So I don't know if maybe mosaics has shot up in price or something, but that was 15 quid for a 100 gram bag. Is that expensive? Let us know in the comments if mosaic prices have gone up recently. Maybe I just need to, maybe I've selected like some specialty mosaic or something, I don't know. But let's use that anyway. Next up, actually I put in that I'd use 140 grams here. That's not, you know, right, let's just say 100 grams for your basic beer, because we're not doing anything fancy. So £15 for your hops. Yeast, I just went with a standard dry packet of yeast for my example, and I threw that down as £3 for one pack. Yeah, obviously if you buy in bulk, it's cheaper. So with regards to the materials in that's £26.80 for that. Obviously you've got to take into account that different setups have different efficiencies, so all of this is kind of playing it by ear a little bit. Then the electrics. Well, I recently got fitted with a smart meter that tells me how much electricity I'm using. So I've actually taken some footage of me turning on the elements to see how much that's costing us. So let's slot that in right here. So to see how much electricity we're going to be using in a brew day, obviously it's mainly going to be the elements, but what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the control panel and see what we've got. So we've got this little smart meter here. It says that I'm currently burning 5p an hour. I wonder what we've got turned on indoors, but let's get started and see what things do. So over here we've got our main connection switch. Good, nothing changes with that turning on. Then we've got our control panel. Okay, let's turn on all of the lights. So we are do re mi, still 5p an hour, so good, no real drain there. Let's start with the HLT. So, oof, well, HLT is not sounding fun. I'm gonna have to play with that. Right, so let's focus with the boil kettle to start with. Boil kettle gets turned on. I am all connected, I am sure. So let's see what happens. Oof! Boil kettle, we have shot up to £1.25p an hour. Now we run the boil kettle for about an hour and a half. So what's that? That means about £1.70. If we're on full power for the full hour and a half. Now that's half hour obviously for the build up to boil temperatures, and then an hour for the actual boil. Sometimes I leave it on for or semi-powered at 80 degrees for about half hour, but that's more pulsing, and sometimes it holds its heat quite well without any element time. So let's just say hour and a half at £1. We'll go £1.20 as the element there. So let's turn that off. Now I'm going to have a little bit of a play inside before I turn on the HLT element again. Oh, I thought I'd solve this problem, but obviously not. So in any case, remember, £1.20 is the boil kettle. Yeah, slight loose connection on the HLT, pain in the arse. I really need to get a replacement part for that, but it's okay. It's okay, just a little tweak and it's fine. Right, so let's turn that one on. And that one comes up to 62p minus the, I think it was 5p an hour, so just under 60p an hour for that one. Now I'll keep that one on a little bit longer, so just so I can prove it. Yeah, can you see that? Yeah, so 60p an hour roughly on that one. So that one's on for 2 hours for £1.20. Okay, so £1.20, which actually makes sense because that's a 3 kilowatt element. This is a 6 kilowatt element, so half the price. No shit. Right, so what we're going to do, we're going to plug in those numbers into the spreadsheet, and then we'll sit down with a pint and work it all out. Good stuff. Right, let's turn that off, and yeah, let's get going. Okay, so from that we were able to tell that our HLT element, which is 3 kilowatts, charges about 60p per hour, and our boil kettle element, which is 6 kilowatts, is charging at £1.20, so double the cost. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, so the HLT, obviously it's not always on 100% of the time. It's not, because once it's reached temperature, it'll phase in and off to maintain that temperature, but I couldn't really be bothered to work out what the costing for that is. So let's say it's on all the time for 2 hours. That's £1.20. And the boil kettle, again, let's try and keep our maths simple, and just say that it's on for an hour and a half, so half hour to bring it up to boiling temperature, then an hour fully on. Again, in reality we are pulsing during that hour, but let's go with that. So the element, or the electricity cost, £3, so not too bad. So for our brew day, obviously we've gone over not including cool down water, which obviously we try and reuse into the next brew day if possible. For a 19, so grand total of all of that is £29.87. Not too bad. 30 quid for about, well, 30 quid for 19 litres and some leftovers to maybe go into bottles or a growler or something like that. What is that at a average cost for a pint? Well, that works out at £1.57 per pint. Not too bad. So that was only a half. Can't. Gotta have a little bit of profit. So let's call it £1.50 pint. Yeah, I'll pay £1 for that. So there we have it, guys. £1.57 per pint. It's interesting. Obviously, if we increased our batch volumes, materials goes down, but actually our run time for our electric roughly stays the same. Obviously, our water cost will, you know, so we double it for a double batch. Again, negligible. So, you know, I'm relatively impressed with that. I think I was expecting my electric bill to be a lot higher, but no. So, you guys tell me, is £1.57 worth the cost? I think nowadays when you go into the pub for a craft beer, it's costing a fair whack more than that. I think a friend of mine said that they bought 2.5 pints the other day of, I think it was something from Beavertown Brewery, and it ended up costing them close to 15 quid. So, yeah. Of course, we're not going into the expensive of actually the whole brewery setup. That's another video that other people have gone through. Fair enough. Right, that's about end of that half. So I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. Take it easy. Cheers.